game in the Big Easy, the Hardline. Ari Timken, Eric Messersmith from Radio Row, San Antonio sports leader, 1250 ESPN, San Antonio.
This is the Hardline, 1250 ESPN San Antonio, ESPNSA.com. Please be joined right now by former Heisman Trophy winner, former Dallas Cowboy, former Tennessee Titan, of course, Eddie George joining us right now. And, Eddie, the average lifespan of an NFL running back is 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. You played for, 8?
Played for 9.
9?
Uh-huh.
How? Plus what, 4 in college?
Plus 4 in college, yeah. Well, really 2. I didn't play my 2 first 2 years in college. But I think it's because I was blessed enough to have a really good coach and some great teammates, and I stayed healthy during that time. And it's kind of skewed. When you say the average life of a running back is 2.5 years, it's because you're vested after your 3rd year. And if you haven't produced, then you're out of there.
Good point.
So that has a lot to do with it. But it was an amazing run. I never missed a game due to injury in my 9-year career.
Wow.
And played in a very, during a very physical time, without a passing game. And I think a lot of that had to do with my preparation year in and year out and trying to take care of my body.
Eddie George joining us here on the Hardline. Your first 8 years, of course, with Tennessee, and then you spent your final season in 2004 with the Cowboys. What brought you to Dallas, and what was that year like?
It was an opportunity to be a part of Bill Parcells' team. I think my time in Tennessee was up from a leadership perspective. They were ready to make a transition. And really came down to the business side where it wasn't I didn't feel protected in terms of, whether I would still be able to take a pay cut and be guaranteed a roster spot. It still wasn't guaranteed for me.
Wow.
And I needed a little bit more security in knowing that. Didn't get that and decided to part ways and went down to Dallas to try to help the Cowboys win a few games, played with that win for a little bit. And that year was interesting because we suffered a lot of injuries. We were in the middle of transitioning from being a 3-4 team to a 4-3 team and trying to find the right pieces and parts to create a product that could be competitive on the field and trying to decide on who we were as an offense, defense, and so forth. And it was the middle of the transition year, so it was very difficult trying to find myself within it all, and let alone trying to figure out where everybody else fit. We had quarterback issues still. We had line issues. We had running back issues. We were just a mess that year.
None of those problems remain in Dallas.
Right.
What was your impression of the Cowboys organization while you were there?
I love the organization. Jerry Jones runs a first-class business. I mean, he puts his money where his mouth is, and he cuts no corners. He does a lot for his players, and he gets a bad rap because they say, well, Jerry should be up in the booth somewhere. He shouldn't be on the sidelines. Well, that's not always true. I think if your owners are invested into his program or into his organization, and he's trying to put the best product on the field, he wants to be involved in every minute detail. He's a hands-on manager. And I remember times after games when he would walk up and down the aisles of the plane and shake every player's hand, whether you played or didn't, said, how'd you do today? How you feeling? Whether you won or lost, or congratulate you. And that meant a lot because he's a man, a multi-billionaire, a celebrity in his own right, a polarizing figure, a man of influence, and he is always involved in every intimate detail. And to this day, I think Jerry Jones would give me an opportunity to come in and be a part of the organization, although it didn't work out, but give me that opportunity. I thank him for that.
Eddie George joining us, former All-Pro running back, Heisman Trophy winner, of course, with the Titans, of course, at Ohio State University. You look at the way, it seems, Eddie, you're kind of that last class of, I say feature backs, but in this era of the NFL, there are a lot of two-headed systems. Yep. What are your impressions of that? Was that kind of, did you want to be the man, or did you feel like, all right, well, if I split carries, while it's not the volume of carries I want?
Well, that philosophy wasn't embraced at all during that time I played. I mean, it went to one guy, and Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders set the stage for that. I mean, it goes back to Earl Campbell,
Jim
Brown to
Peyton.
Walter Payton, I mean, so forth, or O.J. Simpson. So a two running back system wasn't ideal. If you had a guy that was special, that could carry it 30 in and 30 out and can control the game, that's what you want to go with. But toward the tail end of my career, and once the salary cap came into fruition and guys are getting paid astronomical deals, economically it didn't just fit anymore because teams are finding themselves in situations where they were up against the cap. So where can you cut costs? I think New England was the first to really show that, hey, we can win by developing guys at a cheap price, bring in a running back by committee, and invest in our quarterback, invest in receivers, invest in a left tackle, right tackle that's going to protect them, and move in that direction. And I think they were the ones that really pioneered that whole idea of running backs by committee. But I think it's starting to come back now to the Adrian Petersons, the Chris Johnsons, the Ray Rices, the Frank Gores, where they're starting to go back to a one-back system.
Former Titan and Cowboy running back Eddie George joining us here on the Hardline, and you had in your day just incredible carry totals. You had 403 rushes one year, over 300 almost every year. What was it like? What physical toll did that take on your body on a week-in, week-out basis?
Oh, man. I mean, there are days when it takes 3 or 4 days to feel normal again, and only to get revved back up to get beat up again. It was a toll.
Was it tough to even walk on Mondays after that?
Mondays were easier. Tuesdays were the tough days. Wednesdays were even tougher because it's the 2-day effect. Mondays were okay, but Tuesdays, that's when you really start to feel the aches and pains and get hit in the ribs, and that took time to get over. So my younger years, I was able to bounce back in about a day and a half, 2 days with proper treatment, ice and stim and all that stuff. But my older years, it took me until about Friday.
Oh, gosh.
Just to start feeling good again. And it was very difficult.
What about now? Do you have any, I mean, obviously the CTE, the brain injuries, the concussion injuries, do you have any issues there? Have you thought about joining the lawsuit?
No. I mean, I think the research needs to be done still to really see how the repetitive hits affect the brain over a long-term period. Because, I mean, you look at soccer players, female soccer players, they get more concussions than we do. So you gotta weigh it. I mean, there still needs to be more done there before you can say, yes, this is causing these issues. I think it's a part of the equation. But to answer your question, no, I think it's I think the game they're trying to make it safer.
Eddie George joining us right here on the Hardline. You know, you're part of one of the more memorable Super Bowls over the last couple decades. What were your impressions of that game? You know, the Titans coming so close. Just kind of take us through the emotions and what you went through that week, the couple weeks before.
Well, we didn't have a bye week, so we went from the AFC Championship game to Atlanta.
I didn't realize.
So we didn't have a chance to sit back for a week and enjoy the victory and go on these party sprees and heal up and really enjoy what we've done. We had to go right to work. So the week of the Super Bowl was so fast and surreal, and I was just so focused on giving my best performance to help my team win, because to get there is equivalent to trying to catch a fish barehanded. No, really. And
especially how you guys got there.
And how we got there.
The play against the Bills?
Yeah, the Bills, then going to Indianapolis, then
the Music City Miracle.
Then playing the Jacksonville Jaguars for the third time that year.
Oh, yeah.
So nothing was etched in stone for us. And once we got there, we wanted to embrace the moment, and we did. And to finish in that fashion definitely hurts. But 13 years later, for you to remember that, it's a good thing because you're not forgotten. If I asked you who won the Super Bowl in 2004, can you name it off the top of your head?
No, it's probably the Patriots, I would guess.
Right.
But
you remember 2000, you remember the play. So, therefore, that's how I deal with the loss.
One yard away.
1 yard away.
When it's like Jalen Rose said that about the Michigan teams of the Fab Five. They never won. They never won a title, and yet it was more memorable than the teams that have won.
Right.
Appreciate you spending some time, Eddie George.
But guys, you've been awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eddie George joining us on the Hardline.